Hey, this video is the second in my series reviewing the 2022 McSpadden report. If you saw the first one, I went back 34 years. Today, I'm going to dig a little deeper into the statistics for the last 10 years and see what the trends emerge. Of course, we're going to bounce it off 96 as well. It's the earliest null report that I have. So let's see what we're doing differently than our fathers. Stick with me on FlyWire. Hi, I'm Scott Purdue, and today on FlyWire, we're going to talk about accident statistics. Yes, that sounds like fun, doesn't it? And we're going to see what trends emerge from all that. I'm going to offer analysis, and I welcome your comments below. I mean, after all, that's what this is all about. It's about awareness, discussion, and finding the best way forward for all of us. It's not about me, and it's not about you, for that matter. Okay, it's for all of us. We need to be safer as a group, and then it's an individual impact thing. Following the lead from the first video in the series, for the most part, I'm going to concentrate on the last 10 years of statistics. But first, I want to note something a viewer commented about in the original Rising and Falling video, and that is whether the widespread acceptance of glass cockpits has had significant impact on GA safety. Well, the first glass cockpits were introduced by Cirrus in 2003, and I believe that was largely due to Alan Klapmeyer and his insistence on safety innovations. He was really very one of he's on the leading edge, just for sure. In 2005, Garmin introduced the G1000, and in 2012, the G3X was ported to other general aviation airplanes. Avidyne, lots of others, people are doing them. I've got a G3X in my Bonanza, and I love it. There's just really a lot of competitors out of there. Just take your pick. It doesn't matter. Aspen doesn't matter. I wouldn't fly hard IMC without the SA glass gives me. But hey, that's just me. You're different. Doesn't matter. The accidents per year were in gradual decline until about 2012, when the curve then steepened, eventually flatlining in 2020. It's always downhill, has been downhill. I think we could pose a valid theory that glass cockpits had a significant role in that decline of the accident rate since their introduction. Has that impact stalled? I don't know. Could be. It would be a great research project for somebody at Embry-Riddle or something like that, Parks College maybe. But what is plain to see is that weather-related accidents have significantly declined. And I'll show you that in just a minute. And also, hey, just a reminder, I'm looking at GA non-commercial fixed-wing accidents. That's today. It's the biggest area and most relevant for the folks here watching. Sorry if I didn't include your aircraft type. The data's all there. Back to my 10-year survey. AOPA has broken accidents into categories so that we might discern the riskier areas we operate in. By a large margin, we can say that pilot-related accident represents over 70% of accidents. That single-engine fixed-gear airplanes experience 70% of accidents and over 60% of fatal accidents. Private pilots are involved in 46% of the accidents and fatals overall, and over 50% of the accidents have a pilot with an instrument rating aboard. That one floored me, actually. Ironically, an IR pilot was on board for 54.9, call it 55% of fatal accidents. And finally, accidents occur in day VMC 88% of the time, and accounts for 77% of the fatal accidents. Surprisingly, night IMC is safer than day IMC. Night IMC accounted for 1.2% of the accidents and 4% of the fatals. Going all the way back to 1996, night IMC accounted for 13% of the fatals. I think it's obvious that instrument flying has gotten significantly safer over the last 10 years. Your call, whether that's glass or not. Maybe it's just GPS. Who knows? We had GPS in 96. Yeah. Does that mean we should avoid flying day BMC? Maybe. Or maybe that's because not being able to see outside tends to focus your attention where it needs to be. Plus, maybe exposure is higher during the day. Pun intended. Another surprise for me was fatal accidents generally make up about 25% of all accidents. And that, for me, is a big takeaway from the first video. Even though accidents have fallen 50% in the last 34 years, the percentage of fatals is pretty much the same. as accident types. We'll see that in a second. So now we know that if we're a private pilot flying a fixed gear single on DMC conditions, it's no time to let our guard down, especially if we're also having a higher rating. We're asking for it. At least for the last 10 years, that's true. So let's go deeper here and figure out where the danger areas are. And I'm going to highlight the fatal accident percentage rate by phase, okay, and the high categories. For the most part, I'm only going to look at the top killers, not the whole environment. We just don't have time in this one video. By phase of flight in 2022, there are 211 takeoff accidents, 36 fatals, representing 17% of all accidents in that phase. En route was 146 accidents, 41 fatal, 28% rate. Descent and approach posted 146 accidents, of which 33 were fatal, 23% in the landing phase. And there were 346 accidents with 8 fatal. The sheer number of accidents were largest in the landing phase, but the percentage-wise, it was only 2% of the phase accidents. That's really a function of energy, frankly. But as a function of the greatest risk, the en route phase was the most dangerous. Okay, that's where the worst number of fatals were for this time. Looking at the accidents by phase in 2014, we see that 218 takeoff climb accidents happened, 51 fatals for a 23% fatal rate. The en route phase logged 163 accidents, 47 fatals, and a 29% fatal rate. The descent approach phase charted 126 accidents, 34 fatals, and a 25% rate. During the landing phase, 328 accidents occurred, 4 fatals for a 1% rate. And the en route phase tops the chart again as far as fatals go. And that's frankly the biggest thing. As contrast, in 1996, by phase of flight, takeoff climb accidents had 382 with 64 fatal or 17%. I had to combine cruise and maneuvering because they didn't calculate an en route phase, and there were 470 accidents with 155 fatals for a rate of 33%. Descent and approach tallied 202 accidents, 74 fatal for a 37% rate. And in the landing phase, there were 488 accidents, 10 fatal for a 2% rate. In general, the same apparent relationship with a slightly higher fatal percentage. On a side note, AOPA noted in the Null Report in 1996 that it had the lowest GA accident rate since 1938. In 2022, takeoff climb loss of control in flight posted 53 accidents, 19 fatal for a 36% rate. Engine failures came in second with 39 accidents, 6 fatal for a 15% rate. 2014 loss of control in flight posted 67 accidents, 26 fatal for a 39% rate. And engine failures came in second again with 57 accidents, 11 fatal, and a 19% rate. In 1996, AOPA didn't really break things down into categories like the later years, so I'm going to skip over those. We're just going to do that 10-year block and the highlight in the ends. During the en route or cruise phase in 22, engine failure, fuel issues, and others topped the charts according to accounting for 110 of the 146 accidents. Loss of control in flight came in fourth at 14 and tied with the most fatal accidents at 11 for a 79% rate. Overall trend was flat. Private pilots logged 53% of this accident category and 49% of the fatals. For 2014, engine failure topped the en route list with 80 accidents, 12 fatal, 15% rate, followed by fuel-related issues and loss of control in flight, posting 14 accidents, all fatal. That's a 100% fatal rate, right there. Control flight into terrain and weather together tied second for most fatal accidents. With 146 accidents, 33 fatals, 22 saw the descent and approach phase increase slightly from 2014, posting 126 accidents and then 34 fatals for a 27% rate. Loss of control led the category with 42 accidents, 17 fatal, 40% rate, followed by fuel issues and engine failures, which together posted 4 fatals for an 88% rate. Control flight into terrain was 86 accidents, 3 fatal, and other was 18 accidents, 5 fatals, accounting for twice the number of fatals there. Clocking in there at 24 accidents, 8 fatal for a 33% rate. Private pilots led the category with 47% of the accidents, 41% of the fatals. Again, private pilots. In 2014, accidents during the descent and approach phase, loss of control in flight accounted for 52 accidents and 21 fatals for a 40% rate. Engine failure was 30 accidents with 4 fatal, 13% rate. Fuel-related issues with 18 accidents, 3 fatal, and a 17% rate. They came in second and third in that category. Private pilots led this category with 53% of the accidents and 56% of the fatals. Okay, landing accidents in 2022 accounted for 346 of the total 931 accidents, only 8 of which were fatal. That posted at a 2% rate. Loss of control ground had 136 events, abnormal runway contract 109, and other was 37. Private pilots took 455 of the accidents and tied commercial holders with a 38% rate of the fatals. In 2014, landing accidents posted almost the same number, 328 accidents, that is in above 2022. Only half the number of fatals with 4 and a 1% rate. Loss of control ground came in second with 120, 1 fatal. It was a less than 1% rate, and other accounted for 28 accidents, 2 fatal, or a 7% rate. Private pilots again took the lead with 44% in this category, but commercial pilots posted 75% of the fatals. Been a fluke so far. This first time anybody other than private topped the charts there. The biggest killer categories in 1996 were weather with 33% of fatal accidents, and then maneuvering with 26%. These two categories accounted for 59% of all fatal accidents, and weather accidents included control flight into terrain, crashing out of control, structural failure. Sounds like loss of control or of some kind to me, frankly. Maneuvering encompassed control flight into terrain, crashing out of control. CFIT, control flight into terrain, is the current term. Crashing out of control is theirs, and you know what, it works. But it still sounds like loss of control in flight. In 2014, loss of control in flight accounted for 157 accidents, 77 fatals at a 9% rate. The next big player was 19 weather-related accidents with 12 fatals and a 63% rate. It's all about energy. In 22, the biggest killer was loss of control in flight. Yet again, 129 accidents, 65 were fatal, given a 50% fatality rate, followed closely by weather-related accidents with 21 accidents and 11 fatal, for a 52% rate. Overall, we can see that the accident trend was higher in the past and gradually declining over time. The same 3 items top the list almost all the time. Loss of control in flight, followed by engine power plant failure, and then loss of control on the ground, which is kind of weird, I think. The perennial fatal categories have been loss of control in flight and weather, okay? So what does all this mess tell us? As I said in my first video in this series, the sheer number of accidents has dropped by almost half in the last 34 years. The pilot population has grown dramatically in the last 5 years. Also, in the last 5 years, we've seen a flatlining of accident numbers. But the most important issue, in my opinion here, is that the fatal accidents don't seem to be changing in any significant way. Okay, I would love to see a further decline, and they're just not doing that. The most likely accident situation is a private pilot, like I said before, flying a single-engine fixed-gear airplane in VMC. The safest thing to be doing is flying as a student. It has less than 5% of the accidents, even lower number of fatals. Consistently over the years, students have posted a lower accident rate in the same aircraft type. What are the common traits, and what are the differences? That is, I think, relevant here. ATPs as a group tend to experience the next lowest accident rate, and then so I think experience would tend to lend itself as the best answer for that, the reason for that. After all, generally, commercial pilots are safer than private pilots, so experience obviously plays a role, in my opinion. Exposure is likely a significant factor. Okay, another is structure. Student pilots fly to a syllabus on nice days. And a commenter pointed out in the first video, risk management is almost entirely handled by the CFI. And maybe we're not teaching those lessons that well to students, so when they go and be private pilots, now they are internalized and they can make good decisions. That's an issue. The best answer I can come up with here is, besides that, is proficiency. Incorporating things like hand flying, automated flying skills, aeronautical decision making is huge, and judgment, among others. Those come to mind as you gain more experience. Okay, they just do. Unfortunately, we need to do a better job of teaching. By far, loss and control is the largest single killer every year for decades. And that is just a matter of physics. Dissipating the energy in an airplane during a sudden stop is not conducive to survival. Okay, the energy we have when we crash an airplane is way bigger than a car. Mechanical issues do occur, but the number of accidents and fatalities as a whole are only a fraction of these other players, so they're not, I don't think they really fit into my analysis right now. My nickel on the grass is that a regular training regimen that covers non-standard $100 hamburger maneuvers, in other words, you just don't go hop to another airport. You do maneuvers that emphasize stick time at the far ends of the envelope. In other words, fly intentionally and do it more often. Doing a flight review every other year, frankly, I'm not sure really cuts it, unless you're practicing during the year. And the fact that and in fact, I think the accident statistics pretty much are the same year over year. I think that points out, in my opinion, what I'm saying here. We are crashing fewer airplanes and killing less people than in the past, but we're doing it exactly the same way. We need to get a handle on that. Concentrate on reducing the loss of control in flight accidents and fatalities first, and maybe we can have the same impact as it seems we had on the weather-related accidents. Remember, we went from 13% of accidents to, what was it, 5? Or was it 3? I can't remember. If you don't do anything more than practice stalls and slow flight maneuvering, well, then you'll be a more proficient pilot and better prepared to handle those unusual situations that come up when you don't plan them. Okay? That's my nickel on the grass, is your hand flying skills. So I hope you enjoyed the video and learned something that helps you stay in the air. I hope you're safe, and I'll see you out there on the road. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time on FlyWire.